Who's going to run the meeting?
Chair Dave would run the meeting, but okay. I can just help secretary the.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, no, I'm just pulling up the agenda. Okay, so we'll, hold on one second. So we'll do the call to order and pledge of allegiance. So if you guys will join me, Dan Romero, do you want to lead us?
Thank you, Director Tom. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, clerk, can we have the roll call, please?
Council Member Dave?
Here.
Council Member Thoms?
Here.
Council Member Romero?
Humbly here.
Council Member Grimsley? Absent. Okay. Hi. Can you please move the PowerPoint slide, Dave?
One second. Can we get approval of the minutes for March 3rd?
A motion for approval of the minutes.
And I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Oh, roll call vote, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Council Member Dave?
Aye.
Council Member Thoms?
Yes. Council
Member Romero?
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Minutes is approved. Thank you.
One thing, we also needed to see if there was any public comment.
I do not see any public hands raised or present for this item.
Okay. All right. So citizens to be heard, we have none for items not on the agenda. So we have none. Can we confirm that?
Just let me check my emails. Yes, there is no citizens to be heard or any emails received from public. We can move on.
Okay. Item 5. Water Pollution Control Plan Operations Report.
Okay. Dave, I'm going to share my screen. And Josh would lead us through this operator's report, our plant manager. Josh, please.
Morning.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. I can see your screen.
Okay.
All right, so let's proceed to the topics for the operator's report, which will include the monthly flow data, monthly performance indicators, project updates, and recent activity. So we'll proceed to the monthly flow data. So the monthly flow data for January, February, and March is as follows. So we have the Hercules flow, which was a total of 45,650,000 million gallons with an average flow of 1.47 MGD. For Pinole for January, the total flow was 39,130,000 1.26 million gallons. For Hercules, so February, 37 million gallons with an average of 1.32 million gallons per day. For Pinole in February, we had 31,130,000 gallons total and an average of 1.11 million gallons. And for the month of March, we had Hercules at a total of 39,550,000 with an average of 1.28 million. And Pinole for the month of March, we had a total of 32,380,000 and an average of 1.05 million gallons. On to the monthly performance indicators for January, February, and March. I just want to let you guys know we made a change to this slide from last time where you see the green shading and the X marks that used to say non-applicable there. There was some discussion last meeting about what should be in those boxes and some suggestions. Just wanted to clarify, better than I did last time, that the reason that there isn't anything populated in these fields is either there is not a sample taken for anything in that column, or the unit of measurement is not applicable to that type of sample. So that's the reason why those fields aren't populated. And if this format isn't any more pleasing to the eye than non-applicable, I can take any suggestions on how to list that here in the monthly performance indicators. So just to run through the performance indicators real quick, Sanjay, if you could back up, thank you. The monthly effluent limits, you see the column for monthly effluent limits. So that gives you an idea of what the limits are for each of these samples at this point in the process. And we're showing 2 points of the process here. The next column is influent average and effluent average. So we really have 2 points in the process, and for the rows on the left-hand side, we have 5 different types of analysis that we're measuring. So for January, the influent average for CBOD, biological oxygen demand, was 235, and the effluent average was 6.43, and that's a 97% removal. The 6.43 is well below the limit of 25 milligrams per liter, so that's where that monthly effluent limit column comes into play. It's on the effluent. For TSS, we had an influent average of 286, an effluent average of 12.28 with 96% removal. For coliform, I wanted to let you know so coliform we do once per quarter. So each time you see this slide for monthly performance indicators that covers 3 months, one of these fields will be populated only on one section. So in this case, January, the coliform sample for January was 50. So that should be populated there in the effluent average column. Moving on to Enterococcus, we had an effluent average of 2.7. And for ammonia, we had an effluent average of 42. So we move on to February. We had CBOD at influent average 244, effluent average 5.8, and a percent removal of 98. For TSS, we had an influent average of 317, effluent average of 12.31 with a percent removal of 96. No coliform data for this period. For Enterococcus, we had an effluent average of 3.3, and for ammonia, we had an effluent average of 58. For the month of March, we had CBOD influent average of 254, effluent average of 8.66 with a percent removal of 97. For TSS, total suspended solids, we had an influent average of 322, effluent average of 13.89, and a percent removal of 96. Coliform, there's noted data for this period. Enterococcus, the effluent average was 5.4, and for ammonia, the effluent average was 45. And if you have any questions on the monthly flow data or the monthly performance indicators, we can talk about those now.
I have a question. You said that the percent removals for coliform, enterococcus, and ammonia are measured quarterly. Did I understand that correctly?
Once per quarter.
And so wouldn't it show up on the percent removal? Wouldn't it show up on one of these months?
So percent removal is only used for CBOD, biological oxygen demand, and TSS, total suspended solids. So that's one of our permit requirements is to show the percent removal. For coliform, it doesn't use percent removal as a unit of measurement. If you look in the units column, it shows it as MPN, most probable number. And for that unit of measurement, they don't calculate a percent removal.
Okay, but do we have to report that to the regional board?
We report the number for January. So we take one sample per quarter. And for this quarter, that sample is taken in January, and that's the number that's reportable.
Okay.
So if I may, I think clarify, Councilmember Thoms, I think Josh said that we inadvertently hatched out the box there for coliform. So coliform is measured quarterly. We did measure it in January. Josh, I think you said it was 54 or something was the value.
Yes, 50.
Okay, so that box should not be hatched out. It should say 54 there, but for February and March, it should be hatched out. And then for those three, the last three of the five analysis types, we don't report the percent removal. Is that correct, Josh?
Correct.
Okay.
That was my question. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Dan, you have a question?
Director Romero?
Thank you. So, I've been on the board for a while, and would it be possible if maybe we had a sheet that explains what the CBOD, the TTS, all these chloroform, enterococcus, and ammonia, what it means? I think it would be valuable for the public, and maybe once a year, during maybe like in June, as we're doing the budget, it would just be something nice for the public to read and understand, because I've been on there for a long time. Really don't know what the analogy is on this, other than it's required by the Water Quality Board. But if we could put it on the same sheet, that would be nice. If we can't, it would just, it's a nice thing so members of the public can understand what we're doing with the wastewater. But it seems like the numbers are very low. Josh, would you state, with the new plan improvements, have these numbers gone down immensely, or has this been an average with the wastewater plant for a long time?
I haven't analyzed the data from the old plant, like back in 2017, 2018. So I don't know how much improvement there's been, if any. I can kind of look into that and maybe report back at the next meeting.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes the questions. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Let me just verify.
I'll mention that in addition to adding a legend, we'll also add an asterisk next to the coliform to clarify that it's only recorded on a quarterly basis.
And no public comments.
Okay. So we'll close that item.
No, we have few more sheets to go through.
Oh, I'm sorry. So let's just hold all the questions until we can get through the presentation, and then we'll have questions afterwards.
Okay. Josh, I'm going to move to the next sheet.
Okay. Okay, so these are the project updates. The diesel storage tank replacement. There was some activity for this project, which is basically that now we're under contract with Donley Pump Company to purchase and install the new 4,000 gallon tank for us. And it has a very long lead time. So we're expecting to have that work performed in October of this year, 2022. The digester cleaning project is currently delayed. We were originally hoping to start in April, but the contractor has experienced some delays and failures with equipment. So right now we're currently still waiting on them. We're hoping that they show up this month in June. There hasn't been any activity on the effluent pipe air relief valve replacements, and we had kind of already projected that, so that's still listed as deferred to next fiscal year. And we're continuing to work on the women's locker room, but that's still not finished.
And just to add here, the women's locker room is really a part of our operation and maintenance activity for the wastewater treatment facility. It is not a CIP project.
Okay, so on to the recent activity. Right now we're in the initial phases of renewing our NPDES permit for the treatment plant. Our current permit expires in March of 2023. We work with a consultant, Larry Walker Associates, to file that initial application for our permit renewal. So we've collected some information from Hercules and Pinole, and we've submitted some initial data, and I'll continue to update the committee on progress. I've also been working on an update to the wastewater treatment plant operations manual. That's a permit required document. The original operations manual was written by Brown and Caldwell in 1995 with an update in 2007 when the digester improvement project took place. With all of the upgrades that we made, that finished up in 2018, 2019. They've been asking us for this. So I'm hoping to have this completed by the time our next subcommittee meeting comes around. By performing it in-house, it is a cost savings. Some former staff had quoted a consultant to do it in 2019 for like $50,000, but that wasn't acted on. So right now, like I said, I'm in the progress of updating that document. Back up one more slide, Sanjay.
Sorry.
So just another update with the treatment plant. We have been struggling with plant water line leaks. So we have internal water system pumping system that we pump around and effluent through the plant. It's used plant processes. So we just had a failure in this line. So we made repairs. We changed the orientation of the line. It looks like when it was installed, and that's why the first picture on the left kind of looks like a field goal post.
Josh,
so we repaired the leaks. Yeah.
You are breaking up. Maybe you turn off your video, try just the audio. If not, then I'll take over.
Okay, let me turn off my video. How is my audio now, Sanjay?
Okay.
Okay, so just to continue, I feel like the picture on the left, like I said, it kind of looks like a field goal post. Maybe they struggled with some of their initial alignment. And we had 2 water breaks in this one area. So we repaired those leaks and improved the alignment of the pipe. And I hope we don't experience any more leaks. It took a considerable amount of staff time and effort to make this repair of this buried pipe. Next slide, Sanjay. Okay, so during this quarter, we made some improvements to our disinfection system, which is really made up of 2 components. We disinfect the plant effluent with a industrial strength chlorine bleach, and then we remove the chlorine with sodium bisulfite. So during this quarter, we constructed a new process building. It's just a small shack, more or less, to house a new analyzer. And the purpose of constructing that was to eliminate a long stretch of underground pipe that was not allowing us to accurately analyze the value of sodium bisulfite we were dosing into the plant effluent. So there was only one buried line, which was a problem because we couldn't maintain the line. So we eliminated that line, added the building so we could measure the process right at the source. And then there was a total of 3 process analyzers installed, 2 to measure sodium bisulfite and 1 to measure chlorine bleach. And with the new analyzers that we added, we were able to incorporate automatic chemical dosing functionality. So instead of having an operator intervening and choosing how much chemical to dose, the process will now work as it should, similar to the thermostat at your house. You set a temperature and let the automated system take over. In this case, we're setting the amount of chemical residual that we want in the water at the end of the process, and we let the automated system decide how much chemical to pump and inject into the plant effluent. That's all I have for recent activity. If you guys have any questions, we can take those now.
Hold on 1 second. I think, Josh, we should go through the complete presentation. Unless the members, I'll turn to the members, the directors. Do you guys feel that we should take questions midstream, or do you want to wait till the end?
Well, Chair, I think he's finished with his report because we go into the budget after this.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's take questions then. Director Romero.
Thank you. So, Mr. Binder, going back to project updates, the women's locker room, was there always a women's locker room?
There was not always a women's locker room. Initially, it was a room that had a bank of lockers on the wall, and that was what it consisted of. And we're bringing it up to the same standard as the men's locker room. We're adding a shower and a water heater, and just the same functionality as the men's locker room.
All right, then I would consider that a CIP because it was not there prior. And so I would ask that maybe staff work this out. Sort of surprised to hear that because I don't remember hearing a women's locker room. So if that is new, then that I would consider that a CIP. The plant water system repair was, so thank you for realigning that, because that's sort of really hard to understand. So when was this pipe put in? Was this pipe put in during reconstruction?
Yes, that was part of the plant upgrade. The plant upgrade didn't include a entirely new plant water system. Mm-hmm. The affected areas of the plant that they were performing construction on received new plant water pipe and new plant water pumps. So there's portions of new pipe and some portions of the plant still have the older pipe.
Okay, but the picture on the left was something that was performed during the plant upgrade?
Correct.
Okay, then I would ask that, again, staff, whoever put that pipe in, that is like amateur hour. And I don't know how that got by anybody like that. I mean, what you guys did is what should happen. But I mean, that other portion there, that's bad. And we should be getting the upgrades have only been approved in less than 2 years now. And that we should get a credit back on the work that we had to do to revise it. So I would ask that we check on that. And then on your recent activity, I'm sort of a little concerned about, so when the plant upgrade was originally designed, both cities were told that with the plant upgrade, we would be using less chemicals. And so, again, with staff, I'd like to find out, are we using less chemicals? I understand the cost of the chemicals have gone up, but, the whole process, not including expanding what we were doing, but also the improvements was to use less chemicals. And then to hear that we're using more chlorophyll and then taking it back out, I'd just like to maybe, you don't have to report out if you want to send it to the city. The public works directors, I would be okay in receiving that unless you want to make it public. But again, the plant was supposed to use less chemicals after the new process. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Okay, Director Thomas.
No questions on this section.
Okay, and once again, one more time, public comment.
No, there are no public comments.
Okay. Let's move on to item 6, fiscal year 2022-23 budget.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. We have worked on the we're working on the proposed 22-23 project budgets, which is a shared cost for this plan. Our finance director have worked with the City of Hercules finance director, and here is the preliminary details for that. I just wanted to add here that the total shareable cost for this staff has gone down quite a bit, but this is still being refined. There are some CIP staff time that I have not included here, but the total cost, shareable cost, has gone down significantly for this year. Moving on to the next details. This budget document shows the operating and capital projects, and the reductions are kind of shown here from the previous years. And I haven't prepared a comparison from the previous year, but if that is necessary, I can provide one later. This sheet shows the different engineering services that we expect, and we have discussed this detail with the City of Hercules staff. The major increases here is on the travel and training, where the Class B driver license certification is required, and we have 4 staff members who need to get those licenses, and that has a significant increase in the cost for the training. I would like to point out for the chemicals as well, the chemical cost, as Josh mentioned, the chemical cost has significantly may increase during this pandemic in supply chain issues. And that's why the chemical cost for the plant operations has significantly increased here from $575 to $750,000. The total amount of chemicals as Council Member Romero requested that we haven't investigated how much was actually being used in previous years, but definitely the efficiency, discussing with Josh, I know that the efficiency of plant has increased, but whether the quantity of chemical has decreased, I can't answer that, but once we have the previous data, maybe we will send it out to everybody. There are some of the improvements in buildings that we have included here cost. The as-built for the wastewater treatment plant drawings we have budgeted here. When we're working for this budget, we actually had a quote for over $60,000, which we did not think it is appropriate. So I'm still working on getting this cost to be a reasonable level. But as this was the budget level and I had the $75,000 in there, some of the feed pumps and all, these were not part of the new plant upgrade. The new plant did not upgrade all of the equipment there. And the request for these improvements here are actually new. Those are not part of the previous. We inadvertently included this Tenant Avenue rehab. This is not a shareable cost. This should be removed from here. We will take this out. This collection system is not a shareable cost. This is got included here, which I had a note here. Similarly, this it is also not. Okay, so that concludes the operating and capital budget here. Finance Director Markisha, do you have any comments or any discussions on this?
No, I don't have any comments, but I am available for if there are any questions regarding the budget.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on operating budget?
Okay, Director Romero.
Thank you, Chair. So on the travel and training, Mr. Bashara, so you stated you had four workers that are drivers. Do they drive only for wastewater, or do they do other driving duties for the city?
I believe they're all for the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, all right. And then on your improvements in building, I sort of questioning the centrifuge feed pump replacement. Was that part of the rebuild?
Josh, can you answer that question?
Yes, so as part of the plant upgrade, we received a new centrifuge, but there was no upgrades to the pumps that feed the centrifuge. So the centrifuge is the equipment that we use to water the sludge before the sludge is hauled to the landfill with the dump trucks. So the feed pump replacement, historically, for whatever reason, we've only had one centrifuge feed pump. And since that's a critical part of our operation, I'm reviving the second pump that we have. And that's the reason for this line item, is to add a redundant second centrifuge feed pump.
And can you explain the energy recovery building roof?
Yes, so currently the energy recovery building, which houses the boilers and some other equipment, the roof leaks, and the leaks are pretty considerable in my opinion, and we need to get that repaired.
And do you know how old the roof?
I believe the building was constructed in the 80s. I don't know of any repairs that have been made or if they have been made.
So I guess we got our money's worth on if it was built in the 80s then. And then the miscellaneous plant improvements, $75,000.
So during the course of my first year working at the treatment plant, I've just kind of compiled a list of miscellaneous work that I want to get done just to add functionality to the plant, or repair long-term items that have kind of been just small nuisances around the plant.
And will that list be made available to Mr. Roberts, or has it been?
It can be. It hasn't so far, but yeah, I can share that with him and can talk about them.
Okay, and then my last question is the affluent outfall project design. I know we had talked about that when we first started the reconstruction of the plant. I know there was studies about the outfall line. Is this the line that goes back to Rodeo?
Yes.
All right, and so I don't expect an answer today, but I would like to maybe hear a little bit more about this as a board, if other members would like to hear about it also.
I can tell you the main purpose of it is to upsize the effluent line at the outfall in Rodeo. There's a short section of pipe there that narrows down. Our line, once it gets to Rodeo, it splits into two lines, goes from a 24-inch, and there's a section of 14-inch pipe and a section of 18-inch pipe there. I'm not sure if one of those is used as a primary and potentially maybe one of those is added for wet weather. I'm not sure, but HDR, during the design of the plant upgrade, they wrote a technical memorandum on the effluent pumping, and that included the effluent outfall and upsizing the size of the pipe where there's a restriction at the outfall. And from what I've observed is the issue is during wet weather. So during the last large storm we had at the end of October of 2021, the pressure in that pipe increased from a normal operating pressure of 45 psi to an operating pressure of 85 psi once we got up to 17 million gallons. And the problem with that is the pipe is only rated for 100 psi. So you're at basically 85% of your operating pressure, and that's a bad spot to be at. And it's going to affect the longevity of the pipe.
Right. So I guess my concern is again, yes, we want a budget, but I think as representative from the city of Hercules, I would like to hear more about this, and then also, how many times have we used that affluent line over the last 3 or 4 years? So, and I understand we do get major storms, but I mean, recently. We just haven't gotten it. So I would like to have a little bit more information about this. Thank you.
If there are no more questions, I will move to the CIP portion of the presentation. This is a proposed CIP summary document where we have included some of those projects that we just discussed. The effluent outfall is design is budgeted for this upcoming financial year. And as Josh mentioned, we are following through with this technical memorandum number 14, which I think we believe we can discuss further with Director Roberts and give some more details. And when we go through with the RFP proposal for selecting a consultant, we will engage with the City of Hercules. As Josh mentioned, the replacement of diesel tank, we are pursuing that, and we have certain couple of quotes for that, and we'll be moving forward with replacing that. We did discuss about some of these projects which has been there from the last year, the air release valve replacement and the secondary clarifier center column rehab. We were not able to complete that last fiscal year, and it has been pushed to this year. And the water pollution control plant lab remodel also is necessary, and this work is also being pushed from last year to this fiscal year. We have attached the project sheets to actually provide a little more detail about each of those projects. Out of that, whichever projects are actually the shared part of the cost, that has been noted there. And some more details. This shows the secondary clarifier center column rehab. This shows the air release valve replacement, which is the shared cost. And in our CIP, we have included one of the project which we call the recycled water feasibility study. The scope for this CIP was really to identify the recycled water customers, evaluate the quantity, quality, and the recycled water distribution system options to address the needs of potential users in the surrounding area. So we have budgeted $60,000 for this year just to identify users in the city of Pinole. We would love to City of Hercules to participate in this program if they would like to identify customers in the City of Hercules. And just a note, as our plant space is pretty limited, so the thought is we will not ever have a full-fledged system, and we may go for about a membrane-based system or something very small. The maximum capacity also, we're thinking it would be around half MGD for recycled water. And this project will not address, or it does not relate to the EBMER's efforts with the Phillips 66. This is we're trying to study the feasibility just to find out whether City of Pinole, there's enough users, whether we can do this project. So we would love to hear from City of Hercules if they would like to participate, and we can expand this feasibility study. The last one is the water pollution control plant lab remodel, which would be a shared cost, and the details has been explained here a little bit. That concludes my CIP project presentation. Are there any questions?
Sanjay, can you go back to the budget, the CIP page? Okay. for so my question here, the recycled water, is that under sanitary?
No, recycled water feasibility, actually, we moved it to a infrastructure assessment.
Okay.
It is
so my question on the sanitary sewer piece, are all of those costs that are shared with Hercules?
Yes, all the other CIP projects are shared costs where it relates to the water pollution control plan.
So everything on the CIP under that heading is,
no.
Are these all shared or?
No, not all of them, because sewer pump station rehab, that is a collection system that is entirely on City of Pinole. The collection system is for each of the cities bear those costs.
Okay, so for instance, on the effluent outfall, the 150,000 plus the 3 million, that's the total project cost?
That is what is the anticipated total cost, yes.
Okay, and then so there'd be a 50% reimbursement or some pro rata reimbursement.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just, for future, it would be good to maybe, I don't know, put an asterisk on that or, something that tells us in Pinole that that's a shared expense.
Okay, noted.
Just a side note. Thank you.
Okay, Director Romero, any questions, comments?
No, I agree with Marine Tom's. I think the easiest thing would do is maybe to show the if it's a 641 or 642 or 643, and that way we know if it's a 641, that means it's shared between the two cities, and then that would be sort of understood on that. So, the sewer pump rehabilitation I always thought was a city of Pinole for their system coming in. So, but the others I do understand is part of shared costs.
Yeah, the CIP summary does show those account numbers here, 641 and 642. As you said, this is a sanitary sewer rehab that is borne by City of Pinole. So it does show that, but we can explain with further.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Okay, any public comment?
No, I don't see any public comments.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7.
Dave, can you please share the PowerPoint? Item 7 next, please. Okay. There were no new connections for City of Pinole for the last 3 months.
Mike Roberts, City of Hercules Public Works Director. No new connections for the City of Hercules either. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the directors? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 8, adjournment. All right, we'll adjourn this meeting to the next regular meeting in September 1st. All right, thank you everyone.
Thanks everyone.
All right.
Well.